Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's August 12th. This will be our chart lesson for today. Pretty good trading day today. There's a clear two-tiered channel working down with a nice midline. You could have had this in place by this swing right here. You wouldn't have necessarily had it confirmed completely, but it would have been in place, and it would have confirmed it pretty much when it dropped here. And when it came back up, it turned exactly where I had the line to the tick. And, my guess is we didn't quite make it down here, but I'll talk about that in a second. And we may not make it down there. We may have found a low because there's also, this looks a little rangy right in here. Look how flat the EMA is, and you get your next drop down, and it's the kind of same rangy looking thing again. And there are two clear measured, you can see from here to here, but you could have found this channel by 9 o'clock this morning. And you would have had these lows, and it kind of fits across there. You can see that. I originally had it a little bit lower and adjusted it up when we bounced right here because since we didn't get there, you have to figure there's something else going on. But if you measured this, what was acting as support and resistance here, and dropped it down, you can see we went a little further down than that, but we kind of overshot it that much earlier too. So uh, but you could kind of trade it and use that for a target either way. I'll be surprised if we don't come down here and test this low, but we are back in the upper half here. um, we could continue higher. We might have seen the low of the day, but I'd be real careful trading out of this stuff right here this late in the day. If it breaks higher, you've got a failed second entry short and a second entry long that triggers. But that's a lot of congestion right there. And in the afternoons when it gets a little iffy, the fact that we bounced here, again, I'm guessing we may make a trap here and go lower, but we'll just have to see. It looks pretty good to the upside, to be honest with you right now, but this is kind of congestive looking. A lot of dojis in there, and you got to be real careful on that stuff. So, especially late in the afternoon, because if you make a mistake now, it's hard to make it back. If you make a mistake early on in the morning, and you can see we broke higher, and evidently it hit some stops because it jumped up 2, 3 ticks there really quickly. So, um, even if you get your scalp out of this, it doesn't mean we can't turn back down first. So, um, but it really looks like we're going higher here. As much as I would have guessed we would probably come down here to the other side, it looks like we're going higher. And you can't argue with a price action. Let me just see. I haven't drawn a short term. I've been through for a little while here, so let me draw. Now, if you draw a short term channel there, we've had the break, and we're trying to move to a new low, a new high. So we could get this scalp and still turn down. Very much so could. You can see that's a very clear little channel with a break, and you can see the little short trap, and then we broke higher. So we could easily get that scalp off the trap and then still turn down. But for now, it's still going up, so trade accordingly. But let's talk about the trades. Again, there's a clear channel. It was not very hard to find today. Um, by this move right here, you don't, it's heading lower, but you couldn't ignore this right here, and that's the reason this is green. I'll talk about that in a minute. Uh, the few trades we did have early on were really fast and strong moves to the downside, though, and that's what I really liked. Um, there was one in here around 7 o'clock. Notice this. It's just a two-legged back move back to the EMA. You had one leg down. You can see there's one clear move down there, and then a two-legged correction. And what usually happens after that? A measured move down, and you measure that first leg, and so you're looking for a target of at least that, and there it is. We want a tick or two further than that, so you can get out. You had a little extra room to spare if you got out a tick in front of that target, and that's pretty straightforward, and that's a fairly quick and easy move. And I kind of, it was real tempting to take this move right here. Um, we did have a channel down and a break, so there's some reasons to be thinking long, but it could have been that there's a bigger one right here, and so then it gets a little iffy going long right there. Okay, had a little interruption there, but we were talking about this. It could, this could have been. That looks, it looks really. That's holding prices really nicely. It's turning them on both sides, maybe even a little lower, like so. So it made this a little dangerous to go long here. There are two clear legs down with a double, two legs in the middle. But I think it was a little risky. I didn't mark it. And there really, you didn't get another opportunity to enter that till here. And then that's been too big a move, in my opinion. We're too far away from the EMA, and you see what would have happened, especially coming out of all those little three. When you see three little matching bars like that, and at least one of them's a doji, and really all three of those are dojis, that's dangerous entering out of that unless you're in a runaway type trend, and this is obviously not a runaway trend, at least not to the upside. It's just kind of neutral, really. That's a fairly nice bounce, but I don't think you can enter long there, especially if you're considering you might need a retest here. Um, so it breaks higher, right up, and there's a double top there too, and that's the other thing. There's already a double top right here, and this makes it so it breaks higher and turns down. That's a second entry short, and again, it's a little bit of a doji, so I would want to use a limit order here. I believe you would have gotten filled at least a tick back, maybe two into this, but it bounced real quickly, and well, actually, you see on this bar, you can tell a little bit further. Tick back into it maybe on this bar, but I believe this one backed up a couple of times too. And generally, at that point I'm thinking trading range, and you got those highs here, and of course then my lows were here. I moved them up when this bounced. Uh, but anyway, that turned out to be a nice move down. I don't think you want to go short here. It's a little bit too late. It's right into the EMA, and in case that thing breaks lower and bounces, then you're going to be in trouble. But then you get another two-legged move up, so another second entry short, and again it just barely breaks higher, turns down. Again, it's not a perfect setup bar, um, but I don't think you'd have got filled on a limit order here if you didn't use a stop. This one went without you, and so when this one turned up and couldn't go any higher, that's it, you see the 1, 2, 3. It's like the fourth time we got a little bit higher, and this looked really bullish right here. And it was really tempting to go long here as well, but it's right into this resistance here, so I don't think you can go long right there, not unless you can get in way back here with enough room to get out, and you really don't have it. And it would have worked, but I don't think it's worth risking. And then it turns down. And originally I had my trend line drawn right here, so I just redid it and drew it off this one now. And when I drug that one down, it fits nicely right down here. Again, originally I had it just a tad lower, like right there off those closes. And you see we bounced a little bit before that though. So once we bounced there, I just tightened it up just enough to where it was bouncing off that line. And that fits real nicely with the midline and all. You can see it all the way down through there. And you see we did go a little higher, but we're working lower here again. So this scalp would have worked. This trap, would have been good for at least a scalp. And now it looks pretty bearish back to the downside. 45 minutes left in the day. We'll see what happens. But anyway, two legs down, and then it bounces again. Again, it was kind of tempting to go long right there. And you might have even thought about going long right here. But this thing has gotten really flat, and going long or short right into that EMA makes me too nervous. So I don't see anything right in here. This is it got kind of choppy and slow. But notice right here you get a first entry long, a pull back, a second entry long, it fails. So you might have thought about going short right there, but again, there's just a lot. There's two dojis there. The thing is really flat. Whatever, but when it broke higher again, and then you got this big bearish bar, then it was pretty obvious I think we were going lower. And really what I was looking for, if you draw this first one right here, and the downtrend started back right here. I was looking for a measured move, and you can see we got a little bit further, but it went in on into the trend line. It got a few ticks further than that. So once we started down, you're thinking, hey, we're probably headed down here, and that really fit with the where I originally had that right there. That really fit well with our channel. So I like that for a target. Doesn't mean you're going to get there, but it's just a reason to keep hanging on into maybe if you see another trap or something. So this was kind of like a double trap. I didn't like it to the long side, even though there was a short trap there. I mean, I didn't like the first one to the short side, first entry long, and then of course there's no reason to take that second entry long. And then when this one turned down and broke and went higher and it didn't go above, that was really why I didn't like it to the upside, plus the fact that the trend line was not very far away, and these last two highs was not very far away. If you did happen to get trapped there, um, all I can say is when this closed and started trading down, I definitely wouldn't have let it go much further than here, but I probably would have exited that. So if you did get trapped there, but hopefully you can see why you don't want to go long right there. It's a second entry long, but not a good one. And if you went short here, um, you know, you probably would have got stopped out of that one. So this is just kind of in that, look how flat that is. It's kind of that no man's land. Prices are swinging back and forth. I think you're just better off to sit and wait. And with the idea that we're looking for a target down here, and that you had to almost see the channel there. And I really thought and notice how we kind of overshot the low side here, but we didn't quite get there here. And that you'll see that some. So that's another, I mean, those are just subtle things to look at. But when it went lower here, I really like this to go lower. To go ahead and make that measured leg down. It does come down. This one I'm not so crazy about. It's right into this support right here. You can see that. It bounced, but it's not much of a bounce, and it does turn down right off the line. And the reason we did have a break here and a move to a new low, and that was another reason not to go long here. If you drew your little channel off those first couple of swings, you can see that. And so that's another reason not to go long, but that might have put you short into that one too, and you might have got stopped out here. Even if you had it 2 stops above, you would have got stopped out if you went short right there. I'm not crazy about this one, but if you see the channel and you're thinking about the midline and you see this short-term channel working down, you might have been looking for another push down for that measured move. And of course we did get it, but I think it's kind of risky. We weren't even back to the EMA. Of course we couldn't because you had both the midline working here and the previous short-term channel line. But it's just not a great setup. It's not a real good signal bar. There's a little 2-legged correction there. There's some reasons to be aggressive and take that, but I think that's really aggressive. And but we got our break, 2 legs down to a new low, and then we started correct. Then we get a short trap here. I really like this to upside. I really thought it would take on off. I originally thought this channel was a little steeper here, and it was bouncing right off that. And I believe there is a shorter term one here. It worked, but it was by the skin of its teeth. But at the time, I was calling that, I really liked that for a blue, so I left it that way. But looking back at it after the fact, I can see why it probably didn't work very well. Look at all that overlap. What happens when prices break out of that overlap? They come back, and then guess what? They broke out the low side, and then it went higher. So, after the fact, I left that blue because I wanted to remember to talk about it. But after the fact, I think you got to make that green. But that was a mistake I made there. It worked. Sometimes, if you're reading the price action right, you can make mistakes and it works. But I think I was real lucky to get a scalp out of that before it turned down. Now that I look back at it, look at all that overlap. And, it's not at the very low where you would expect to find it because it's about to turn. It's up here at the high near the EMA, and just looking at it, it just, there's no reason to go short there, but looking back at that, I don't think that's a very aggressive long, And I probably got lucky. I'll just be honest with you. And then you get a break right here, and I notice how that went lower first, turned and went out the high side. When it went out that high side, uh, you're looking for a retest of that high. So I think it's okay to have a stop there. And that was a quick, easy scalp. And then it pulls back and it traps people to it really looked bearish there, and then it turns back up. You can't go short there yet. Uh, I guess you could go short there. I don't see any reason to go short because we're looking for prices have come off the low side. So now what are we looking for them to do? We're looking for them to go back to the high side. And so you're not expecting prices to go lower here. Just like a minute ago, I said, what are we expecting prices? We're really expecting them to come down here. So you got to be careful going in that direction. And as bearish as that look how they fought it back up again. But sometimes you got to think like that, and notice how we got above the midline and it's above the EMA, and even though it closed right there, if it had broke lower right there, or you got some kind of trap and then it turned down, I really thought we were going to get a trap and it was going to turn back down, but it didn't. It went higher. So there's a short trap there, and you figure if it breaks there, it's going to hit a bunch of stops, and it did. But it's real risky going long at that high across all that resistance there, just like we talked about earlier over here. And but the only difference is we are looking for prices to go back to this line. And so an aggressive trader probably knows there's going to be a lot of stops there, and obviously there were, because look how it rocked it and went straight on up there. It was a quick, easy scalp, and it took a little while to start reversing. I was starting to wonder if it was going to reverse. So, and another thing here was, notice we had the break of this channel, but you were looking for a new high, and it didn't have that yet with this, so it had it right there. And so that's another thought you got to be concerned about. It could have went up a few ticks and turned down and created a real trap before it went higher. It could have come all the way down here and tested these lows again. But the odds tell us we're probably headed to the other side. So enough reasons for a nice aggressive long. Several of these are aggressive in here, but if you're paying attention, they're legitimate trades. And then you get a double top right off that trend line. That's not even a very pretty bar, but you've had your break, moved to a new high, you tried to go higher again. So I liked going short there. This is one you might even try to use a limit order. Moves down, comes back, it makes that little tick higher, traps people and comes down. And again, there's aggressive entry right there because that's a trap. That's a failed second entry long, but you're going short right into what was resistance, and it could act as support. It didn't, and it dropped straight on down. So it's a little aggressive, but it drops straight on down, and guess what? It comes back and tests it and then turns down, and that's where you want to enter right there. And that's the good entry. Even though that's not the prettiest bar, when it broke lower, just drop a limit order there. Or you could use a stop, but you got to figure it's going to back up into that little doji. Sometimes it doesn't, so you got to really play it out. And we're not down to the midline, and there's a good chance we're probably coming all the way to here. Didn't end up happening, but it was an easy scalp. And there's another little two-legged correction right there. That one was a little bit tempting. I remember watching that and thinking, if that goes out the other side, I think you got to go short there. But it stopped and ended as a doji, and so I quit watching it after that. But, looking at that, aggressive trader might have thought about going short right there. There was enough room to get out, and you're looking for them to come all the way down here. But look here, we're still going higher over here. So that's why you can't guess where it's going, even though, and they really fooled people right here. If it would have broke lower, it probably, that probably would have brought in a lot more selling, but it didn't. It went higher instead. So we may get a break of a trend line and still try to make that low, but this down move could be over. And maybe instead of the channel taking precedence, the little two-tiered channel here is taking over. But notice how we're right back to that level right there, and that's where we're finding resistance at the moment. And those are the kind of places where you'll see those little gaps. Notice how it closed and opened. They're not overlapping. People always get confused when I call that a gap. But notice how all these other bars have some overlap, and there's no overlap right there. Look how it skipped right over that line. And that tells me that I had my line in a very important spot. You can see it all the way across there. Prices skipped right over it. And we're probably catching some stops now because the shorts are having to exit. So wasn't a bad day compared to yesterday. Um, a lot better day than we had yesterday, to be honest with you. Um, there weren't a whole lot of trades that were just that are red or blue. There's no blue ones really. There were some opportunities to take some longs, but the trend is down. This is a clear channel. I just think it was a little risky going long today, but it is somewhat of a range day. And if this was a little bit flatter, I might have been more tempted to take some of these longs. But I think the overlying theme was down until right here when we made that little failed break lower and started higher. And even then, I don't think really the buyers came in strong until that last trap right there. And you can see it. People finally decided, hey, we're going higher, at least for now. So decent trading day. 1, 2, 3. If you just called a couple of these trades, you made some pretty good money. The rest of the day was a little choppy through here, more rangy type, and it may turn out that the range takes precedence today. So we'll see if we end up back up here. There's not a whole lot of time left, 20 or 30 minutes, so we'll see. But it's interesting how it skipped right over that. It may pull back to test it before it goes higher, or it could fail and turn back down again. So, but that's what I saw today. And I did want to share something else. Early this morning, I got a trade from an email from a trader. Took 3 trades, made 3 points. It's amazing when you start to read the market. That's all he said. I won't show you his chart because he sends me another one later. This is somebody new. I hadn't shown his chart before. He sends me another about 122. Please find a copy of my chart today. I marked 8 trades, second entries, all went to their first target. Took 4 myself, 4 points today. Can you give me feedback on the chart? I'm loving this method of keeping everything simple. I have a long way to go, but I am progressing. Thank you, and he gives his name. So, and he finally sends me one more. He says, knowing the information, and it's obviously English isn't his first language here, so keep that in mind. Knowing this information in advance, what price will do is a huge advantage. It went up for 2 points. Your scalp will be in the bank. Please have a look at my chart I sent you as well. As you said, this stuff becomes so predictable when you know what you are doing. So he's having some real success. And, I know people like to see that other people can do this. So I've been trying to share some of that. He did send a chart early on, but I'm not going to, the way he sent the chart's a little harder to show it. So I'm not even going to waste the time with that. I'm going to wrap it up. But he's basically what he told me he was doing for now is he's just concentrating on finding second entries with the trend and drawing his trend lines. And he did have this channel drawn exactly like I did. I'm not sure if he copied mine off the midday chart. I don't think he did. I don't think he's a premium member, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But he saw this channel and he saw the short-term trends in there, and he's just following the rules, and he's not trying to complicate. He's not trying to find a trade everywhere. He recognized prices were headed up, then he recognized they're headed back down, and that's what's rewarding is that he has an idea where prices are going and why they're going there and where they're likely to turn again. And just knowing that information changes everything. And so keep that in mind. But I'll continue to share stuff that people send with me. And, if you want to share some of your success, or if you want to share something, I never give anybody's name unless they tell me, hey, it's okay to give my name or whatever. people know that I'll throw your chart up there if you send it to me, if it's something that's a learning opportunity, or if it's something that I think that will benefit others. And I really think that showing that other people are having success benefits those that aren't, because they see that it can be, that others, that somebody else besides just me can do this, or are learning to do this. So anyway, that's going to be it for today. Again, if you want to show me something that you think is a learning opportunity, or if you just want to share your success, send it to me, and because I like that kind of stuff. You mostly only hear from the people that have trouble, and so it is nice a lot of times to hear from people that are having success, because those are the ones that are quiet and normally just sit in the background and study and figure and continue to work on this and figure out what we do, and they begin to have success, and eventually they go off on their own and they do this, and you don't hear a whole lot from them. You might get a thank you from them every now and then or something like that, but it's the ones that really struggle are the ones that you hear from, and so it is very nice to hear from the people that do have success. So, and but anyway, I want to wrap it up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.